And action. Hello there friends, Scott from Scott Free Running here, and today we've got something a little bit different in store. I guess to put it simply, we're not going to be talking per se about running today, although I guess this whole gist of this story does kind of have a parallel to running, so bear with me till the end. On this channel I usually talk about running, but I also like to cover topics such as lifestyle, being a vegan athlete, and being sober from alcohol. But in this video I just wanted to focus primarily on my time spent here in Australia. I've been in Australia for 6 months now, and as you can probably tell by my accent, I'm not from here. I'm actually British, and yeah, I've been here for 6 months and it's been a bloody blast. And I have to say that being in Australia, from everything from just how bloody good the minimum wage is here to the weather, I'm just so impressed. And actually, I've really loved my time here. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to reflect back on those 6 months and to share some of my highlights that I've had in my first 6 months living in Australia, more specifically in South Australia. I've got plans to travel across more of Australia in the future. I'm actually really interested in WA, Western Australia, but I've also heard a great thing about all of the other states. So before we dive into the video, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my sponsors of my current training series. For those of you that watch my running content, you will know that I'm currently training for a marathon, and I am really grateful to be supported by Tony Smith Running Club and BIX Hydration. Now, let's jump into the video. I just wanted to kick this video off by briefly talking about pay here in Australia, more specifically the minimum wage. So actually, while I was researching for this video, I found out that Australia is actually the highest minimum wage paying country in the world, which I found actually quite surprising, to be honest. But I found that in my own experience here in Australia, that things are just a little bit more affordable, and I'm almost suspicious. I'm like, I've been to the States before, and for those of you that have visited America will know that there's prices for things, but then there's the price plus tax. And these things aren't always obvious, and you end up paying a little bit more than you think. And I kind of felt that when I came here to Australia. But there's no plus tax price, it's all included in the price. And obviously there are some things that are expensive. I personally don't drink, but I've heard that beers in pubs can be about $10, which is about £6 in the UK. Yeah, that's pretty expensive, but let's take other things. Let's take the minimum wage, for example. Now, if you're a casual worker, such as myself, you will receive a $21 base rate here in Australia. That's about £12 in the UK, possibly about $15 in the US. But you'll also receive a 25% bonus on top of your casual wage from the government, and this takes you up to about $27, $28 an hour, Australian dollars, which is about £16 in the UK, and that's about 19 American dollars. Now this is really good money for a minimum wage. Even with my education and my experience in the UK as a photographer, my work in teaching and student support, I've only ever earned probably upwards of about 13 or 14 pounds in the UK per hour, and that's a pretty good wage. So to come to Australia and immediately with no experience in the job that I'm currently doing, I'm receiving $28 an hour, £16 an hour. Not to mention that there's Saturday and Sunday overtime rates, which if you work a full day on a Sunday, you're going to be receiving about $62 an hour, Australian dollars an hour, which is well over £35 an hour. That's just insane. That's really good money. Now we don't have those incentives back in the UK, and actually I've also really enjoyed working in coffee in the past. Actually, just before I moved to Australia earlier last year in 2022, I was working as a barista and I was on £11 an hour, and I thought this was really good money. I came here and I thought, wow, this is pretty crazy stuff. I'm getting paid literally 3 times that amount working a Sunday with a job that doesn't require any experience. Pretty impressive. That's kind of one of the many facets of Australian life, Australian culture and lifestyle that I find really interesting. Property prices seem to be really expensive here, and to be honest, groceries are really affordable. Actually, the fruit and veg here is bloody brilliant. I'm so impressed. But before we leave, hey! And the grocery shopping is done. which means it's almost beach time. Incredibly exciting. But while I unpack this shopping, I thought now would be a good time to talk about driving around Australia. Now, Australia is bloody massive. For those of you that don't know, Australia is 32 times bigger than the United Kingdom, which with a population of 25 million people is pretty vast and pretty empty, to be honest. I mean, if you take into consideration that London has a population of about 9 million people, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it's very vast, very empty and very open here, which for the most part means that you kind of need to drive everywhere. And I find this quite annoying, to be honest. I really loved my days living in East London, cycling absolutely everywhere. I had a backpack and a tote bag, and that's all I needed when I went food shopping. Now I have to jump in the car and drive about 40 minutes to the local shop to fill up pretty much for the next week, 10 days. And it's just a bit of an annoying task, to be honest. Not necessarily the shopping itself, that is quite satisfying. Just the driving, it's just quite fuel consuming. It's not great on the environment. And to be honest, I really do just miss public transport. It sounds weird, but I used to love taking the bus in London. I used to, of course, love being a cyclist. That's just a great pastime. But here, I guess, I just wish that there wasn't such a need for cars, but there really is. If, like me, you are from a place that is very busy, very crowded, and bustling at all times, then I'm sure that you're going to love Australia, because even though it's pretty empty here, pretty vast, I do find that quite a charming quality. But that does lead me into a part of Australia that I guess makes me miss home a little bit, and that is just the sheer diversity that I miss from living in London, particularly East London. It was just such a diverse community. Obviously, when there's 9 million people in such a small space that London is in the grand scheme of things, of course you're going to have people from all over the world coming together and forming a community with many different interests. And I always felt like there was a place in London for me. I always felt kind of at home. I could go pretty much anywhere in London and find a nice vegan restaurant, and yeah, pretty much anywhere I went I met someone that was either into running. I'd always end up bumping into someone that had the same niche interests as me. Whereas I come to Australia, and to be honest, there are quite a few of us Brits here. Quite a lot of Australian people have British family, but for the most part I do feel like a bit of a minority. And actually there's not that many vegan restaurants here, and I think I'm a lot less likely to bump into people with the same interests, particularly in a rural town. So I hope that in making this video I will inspire more of you international folks to come to Australia and to make Australia a bit more of a diverse place, especially rural Australia. It's a beautiful place, but really it's not very diverse and it's pretty damn empty. So I think it's a good reason to come and check it out for yourselves. I always bloody do that. I go and walk the trolley back with one bag still in it. So before I jump into discussion about the original work that I've been doing to obtain my visa for my next year in Australia, I just wanted to go back to that theme of charming things that I just mentioned. And I'd like to talk particularly about the small town that I'm living in. Now, I won't mention the name of this town, just based on what I'm about to say. And that is that one of the most charming things I've seen since I've been in Australia is that no one locks their cars or their houses or anything for that matter. It just seems that in this small town with about a population of about 1,500 people, there's no need to lock your cars because the community is so tightly knit. Everyone knows everybody. Even myself coming in as an international person, I do have my partner Courtney, her family live in this town, and immediately I've been adopted, not as a local just yet. Apparently you have to live there for most of your life to become a local or have a street named after you. But I've been adopted into the town and everyone gives me a good day or a wave when I'm out running. And it's a truly, truly lovely thing. But apparently there's no need to lock your car in the town that we live in. So I've got into this habit of coming home from work, pulling up on the street and leaving the keys in the ignition, which to me seems completely foreign, especially coming from the southeast of England, especially having spent the last 5 years in London, as I mentioned, a place where, to be honest, anything that you leave anywhere will be stolen. I've even had things stolen from my own back garden in the past. So yeah, I'm quite shocked, to be honest, that this is the case, but something that I find especially charming. And I'm going to make the assumption that this theme of small communities being tightly knit and trusting and almost actually retaining a sense of pride in their community, in leaving their keys in the ignition at all times, I find just really sweet. And I'm sure that this happens all over Australia, not just in this small town that I'm living in South Australia. So let's jump into the job that I've been doing over the last 3 months that is coming to an end very shortly. Now, I won't disclose the name of the company that I'm working for because I am still working for them and I don't want to upset anyone. But I'm working for a company that handles grain here in Australia. So the facility that I work at, drivers / farmers drive to us from all over Australia, but particularly in South Australia, they drive to us with their trucks full of grain that they have collected, that they've reaped and harvested, I should say, from the few months of summer that we've had here. And we take in a variety of different grains, and the facility that I work in, we specialise in storing that grain. Now, I in particular work on a team that uses tarpaulin to store this grain. So essentially all day we are pulling these huge sheets of plastic, which are about 37 by 22 meters. If my memory is correct, that size, you can't really get a grasp of how big that is, but let me just say that you'll cover a full-size football field with about 3.5 of these sheets. They are bloody huge and they're bloody heavy. So I've spent the last 3 months maneuvering these sheets over huge piles of grain to protect the grain from the elements outside, in particular the heat, but also the wind and the rain and insects, because there are a lot of all of those here. But it's been great fun. It's been definitely different to anything else I've done in the past. As I mentioned, I've been a teacher, I've worked as a photographer, I've worked with coffee, but I never imagined that I would be outside in the elements pulling these huge sheets of tarpaulin / plastic. But my time in that job has been nothing but entertaining. I've picked up so many new skills, and quite honestly, it is a job that I would have never ever done in my life had I not needed to fulfill this criteria for my working visa. And actually, I'm really grateful for that, because I've met so many people that I probably would have never met. Some guys that I've worked with have never left Australia, and they're actually just quite happy being here, never leaving the country and never even leaving the local town of 1,500 people, which, to be honest, I commend them for that, because I do feel this sense of curiosity and I want to go and see it all. I never really felt like I have truly been at home anywhere I've been. But for you guys that have thought about coming to Australia to do some regional farm work, I couldn't recommend it enough. It's only 3 months, and to be honest, you'll pick up more skills than you will staying at home doing the same job. I can promise you that. But I do believe that in part this job, the 3 months at least I've had at this job, has really helped me progress as an athlete. The discipline that I've gained from doing this job, from getting up at 5:30 every day, sometimes 10 days straight, some days for more than 12 hours a day. It's required a lot of discipline. It's really helped me as a runner. I warned you guys that I'd be talking about running in this video, but I assure you that this bit will be kept short. At least I'll do my best. But when I talk about that discipline that I've got from the job, I really do feel like I have benefited greatly. Now, in my time in Australia over the 6 months, I really do feel that maybe I've lost a little bit of a chip off my shoulder that I had in London, having my guard up. I do feel more friendly. I feel actually like it's okay to say hello to more people as I'm walking down the street. And if anything, I kind of expect it now. As we drive around the small town that I live in, people often wave at each other as they're driving. Even when I'm running, I'm just waving at people now. And that, I think, has really helped me grow as an adult, and actually it's a bit more of a friendly person. I think that's a welcome change for us all, to be honest. For those of us that don't lock car doors, I find that really charming, find it really sweet, and actually I really like that essence of community that we have. And although the supermarkets are quite busy here, generally speaking, it's probably worth the car drive. The fruit and veg here is absolutely bloody brilliant. So with all that being said, I do feel that I have benefited so much from my time in Australia. These 6 months have gone so quickly, and I'm so excited to spend more time here. But I would love to hear from you guys. are you traveling at the moment? Where are you? And how do you think it's benefited you on your journey? Have any questions about the Australian visa that I am on currently, or if you have any questions about Australia, please leave them down below. I will link all of the info that I can find about the Australian visa in the description, so you can have a good read for yourself, see if you're eligible, etc. But of course, I always encourage conversations down in the comments. Thank you all dearly for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you feel like this video has benefited you or put a smile on your face, please leave me a like. It does help these videos get seen by more people. And even better, give me a subscribe if you want to see more from the channel. That's all for today, folks. See you in the next one.